Hello and welcome to our 19th annual exhibit of hydrogen and fuel cell technology. We've been here since 1995 discussing this innovative technology and its importance right now for the energy, Wende, as they call it in Germany, a huge issue. I'll be discussing some of these issues with our next guest on stage. He's from Energy Saxony, and we'll be discussing the launch of a new economy-driven energy network. Please welcome with me Dr. Christian Wunderlich.
Hi, Brian.
Hello. So, Christian, we've been on this stage before. We've discussed many things, but you're sort of sailing under a new logo here, Energy Saxony. Could you tell us about Energy Saxony, what it is, and how it breaks down, what it actually does?
Sure. So still I'm affiliated with Fraunhofer Society, but Fraunhofer IKTS has been instrumental over the last 10 years to establish a number of companies in the field of fuel cells in the past, and now we have converted the previous fuel cell network in Saxony to the fuel cell and other technologies covering network Energy Saxony. We would like to bring fuel cells into the broader context of changing in infrastructure in Germany and in Europe.
With this word change, I love the German expression Wende, because it's like a turn. It's not simply a change in evolution, it's a turn. You're very committed and involved in this process. So what is new from the perspective of Energy Saxony? Where are the developments taking place?
In Energy Saxony, we actually start with 4 working groups. The one working group is the one we started with, this is fuel cells. A second working group is power to gas. So this is the broader context, storing electrical energy coming from solar and wind energy in X periods to chemical energy and converting it back to electricity later using fuel cells as the most efficient technology. And we have 2 more working groups. This is batteries for short-term energy storage, and this is resources and recycling, as it is becoming more important where the resources for new technologies is coming from, and we in Saxony have some resources to bring to the table here as well. Therefore, these working groups.
Okay, among these 4 working groups, if I could pick the topic of power to gas, this is a phenomenally important topic in Germany. When foreign countries, I'm from Canada, when we hear the potential of gigawatts being created of wind energy to the north, and then this huge issue of how do you store a cycle of wind energy that has nothing to do with the cycle of demand. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. So how does fuel cell technology play into this? How efficient is it? And what sort of role do you see there? Can it really deal with this huge demand for energy storage?
In your question, you have already mentioned the very reason for power to gas. So with the gas transmission pipeline and storage capacity we already have in place as an infrastructure, we really have an excellent starting point using this existing infrastructure for storing excess electricity and converting this at the time it is needed back to electricity. And we do not have to invest in new storage and new transmission equipment. We already have a very good network of gas transmission pipelines in place, and this networks comes together with a storage capacity. This is about the same capacity as 150 water pump stations for storing electrical energy.
I heard one German politician sort of mentioning on the road to this energy Wende, we don't have enough lakes uphill to store all of this energy. When it comes to this volume, how do you store, let's say, a week of energy demand. Where would you put all of this? We're taking electrical energy, we're converting it to hydrogen, and then we have to stick it somewhere until we can use it. Where exactly do you store such massive volumes of hydrogen?
So there is already a huge volume of gas in the pipelines already, but in addition to the pipelines, there are these huge gas storage caverns. And in Germany, we have the capability to store about 3 months of the natural gas we can use over the year. So we will not need any gas input from Russia or other sources for 3 months. And we still can live on the natural gas we have in the storage facilities existing today. So this is a huge storage capacity to be used. Either it can be filled with hydrogen or with a mixture of hydrogen and methane converted from hydrogen. And you are right, of course you have to start with electrolysis, making the hydrogen out from this.
For those of you perhaps who are not from Germany, when you turn on the radio, about every half a day you have some report about how they have to refinance and restructure the grid. And we're talking about an electrical grid. There are public discussions that really scare the consumer. How many cents per kilowatt is your energy bill going to rise, whether it's affordable for families. And basically, it seems to me the public discussion often seems to give us the impression that they're literally going to build a wire from the big power stations, the wind power stations in the north, right down to the south of Germany. That is technically feasible, that you can hang up wires and run electrical cables. Is hydrogen more efficient than expanding the already existing electrical grid? Is there a gain by converting to hydrogen rather than shipping electrical energy via cable across the country?
So first, transmitting electrical energy via cables is in principle more efficient than converting it to hydrogen and then back to electricity. However, if we do not have the capability to use the electrical energy right now, we have to store it somewhere. And then this power-to-gas approach is coming into the game. And the other aspect you have mentioned is as important as the technical issue. Politicians are confronted with a wide number of potential technologies to use. Some of them are ready to use, some of them are not ready to use. And for this change in energy infrastructure, the electrolyzer technology is a very important technology. Electrolyzer technology is available for low temperature electrolysis, but is not available for high temperature electrolysis. And if we are going to making methane out from hydrogen, this methanization process will create thermal energy, and the thermal energy can then be used for high temperature electrolysis. And if high temperature electrolysis is becoming a viable technology, then we can increase the efficiency of converting wind electricity to hydrogen and natural gas very much. So high temperature electrolysis is, from our point of view, a key technology, and we have some research institutions and we have some companies in Saxony working with these technologies as well.
So it sounds like a win-win situation. On the one hand, hydrogen is necessary as a storage capacity for renewable supplies of electricity that are not conform with the demand. Whenever there's a peak, you store it in hydrogen. On the other hand, it is a more effective way also of transmitting energy from one end of the country to the other. So it's sort of, it does both.
Yes. So the natural gas and the natural gas infrastructure is the ideal partner of the change to more renewable energies in future. This is first a relative clean carbohydrogen fuel, natural gas, in comparison to coal and to other fuels. And second, the infrastructure of the natural gas grid can be used to transport more and more renewables. So we will see in future a 50 or 30% share in the natural gas grid of gas actually not coming from fossil resources but from renewable resources.
Well, this is sort of the approach that we took. We broke it down to 4 different segments that Energy Saxony is involved in. The power to gas. What about on the fuel cell technology end? What is your involvement there? What type of fuel cells do you work with, and what specific applications?
In the fuel cell technology, we cover 3 major technologies. This is PEFC fuel cells, low temperature PEFC. This is solid oxide fuel cells, where we have very strong activities in Saxony, and this is recently added molten carbonate fuel cells, MCFC technologies. And this latest technology came due to the partnership we at Fraunhofer IKTS initiated with Fuel Cell Energy in US, the largest fuel cell manufacturer in the world. They now have a subsidiary in Saxony as well. And there will be a press conference about Fuel Cell Energy's activity in Germany and Saxony tomorrow, so I do not want to go into details today. But tomorrow at 1 p.m., the same time as today, we will have here a press conference with Professor Michaelis and Chip Bertone from Fuel Cell Energy talking about their activities in Germany.
And that's where we're going to find out more about the molten carbonate fuel cell? Is that the...
Yes, this is the technology of the molten carbonate fuel cell in the specific approach of fuel cell energy. They call it direct fuel cell due to the internal reforming they have in the units. And this is a unit actually available in megawatt size today, so it's really relevant for energy infrastructure.
Okay, note the time at 1 o'clock tomorrow. I'm fascinated because I believe on the entire exhibit here, it is the only molten carbonate fuel cell that I've seen. So it is a very unique approach these days to fuel cell technology. If we talk about the future, and your involvement, Energy Saxony is it's a cooperative approach to developing, marketing, utilizing fuel cells. What are the stages you see in the future? Where are you moving towards right now?
So right now we are re-establishing this network as a group coming from industrial manufacturers and research facilities working together. And I have talked about the 4 working groups already, but one of the key issues of this network is that we actually sit together between industry and research and try to speak with one language to the public and to the politicians, that they understand what type of technologies are available and how these technology might contribute to a change in energy infrastructure today, in 5 years, in 10 years, and in 20 years. They have to understand the time scales related to it to take the right decisions. So if we are talking about lawmaking and decision-making in the political arena, we feel that politicians need a fair partner to talk with, and not having many different voices, but to have one voice to explain the relative maturity of technologies and options available. So this is part of the energy dialogue we are going to establish in Energy Saxony.
So you're looking forward to being approached by other people who are already involved in the fuel cell industry in order to group interests and applications and strategies.
It's not only fuel cell technologies, also, for instance, battery technologies. So we have, in our institute, activities in fuel cells and in lithium-ion batteries and high-temperature batteries. There are synergies on a technical level. But there are also synergies in new technologies, bringing these to the market. And we would like to support these battery and storage equipment manufacturers, for instance, that they can learn from the experiences we have made in the fuel cell arena, bringing together a group of manufacturers and talking together with research institutions into one directions and trying to combine our forces.
You mentioned the synergies, and I think if we could pause just briefly to address that interesting topic. The purists who study the fuel cell at high school, they already get a demonstration usually, where you split a water molecule, you get hydrogen and oxygen, and you dump it back into a fuel cell after the electrolysis and recover that energy. Most people understand that, but that is a very closed system relying on pure hydrogen. There are many approaches using fuel cells with natural gas. It sounds like a very impure way to approach it. You no longer have the CO2 zero. So the question there would be, what are the advantages then if instead of using a typical conventional burner at home to burn the natural gas, a boiler, for example, using a fuel cell. And the other hand, you mentioned batteries. For many people here, the combination of batteries and fuel cells sounds entirely rational. In fact, it's one of the best ways to use batteries, to combine them. So could you talk about those synergies? On the one hand, let's say batteries and fuel cells, and on the other hand, using natural gas and fuel cells. What are the specific advantages?
Okay. Natural gas is a very good fuel for fuel cells, as it is a fuel available right now as a commercial fuel. Hydrogen is not widely available as a commercial fuel. Yeah. So, and fuel cells are intrinsically more efficient than other conversion technology. So it's already today a very good approach to use a fuel cell for natural gas. You save basically 50% of the hydrocarbon energy. So you can make more efficient use of existing energy carriers, first point. And the combination with a battery is also a very good combination. These two systems have different advantages. So high temperature fuel cells, for instance, need a certain time until they have reached the operating temperature. And you can bridge with using batteries to have electrical energy available basically at the very moment you will start the system, even when the fuel cell itself isn't not working yet and giving full power.
So sometimes the marriage between batteries and fuel cells is really the perfect combination.
It's a perfect match, and if you walk around here, you will see some of these products, and some of the products you will also see at the booth of Energy Saxony.
Yeah. I always think of this as an information. You have to think about applications when you think fuel cells, really. We see some niche environments which are fascinating for me, trucks that run on batteries, and batteries don't like to be drained down to zero, some of them, and they also don't like to be overcharged. So the combination of a onboard generator and a fuel cell, or a battery and a fuel cell, can be relatively optimal. When we look long term, here we are facing the Energiewende. Do you believe there's enough commitment on the part of contemporary energy providers? We have the utilities who provide us with natural gas, with electricity. Is there enough of a commitment coming to you from outside, be it political or from the existing operators of the infrastructure, the utilities, to help us jump into the next phase?
I would say right now utilities are still in a situation where they try to adopt to the change in the business environment to their business model. And some of the utilities are more advanced than others in this transition process. However, from the feedback we got, for instance, for the large fuel cell system, for the molten carbonate fuel cells, from the utility side, we see that there's definitely moving, but of course, we would like to wish more commitment at any point, sure.
Okay, and that's the role, of course, that I see you as helping us in. Thank you very much for the conversation and for the contribution. I have been talking to Dr. Christian Wunderlich. Always a pleasure. We hope to see you back here next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.